What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be talking about becoming a little bit more witty, a little bit more clever, and a lot more resourceful. I'm a pretty witty person. I'm a pretty clever person. I don't know if that comes across in the videos, and I definitely know that it isn't coming across in my writing yet, but it's definitely something I'm working on. A couple years ago, somebody I was working with asked me how I got to be so quick-witted. And my response was, it takes a lot of slow thinking to be this fast. So I'm going to share with you a couple of the ideas that I have and a couple of the techniques that I practice in order to be quick and in order to come up with a ton of solutions and in order to rarely be stumped. So let's dig into it. First thing that I would say, like I said in response to my colleague, is you need to do a lot of slow thinking. You need to think slowly. And what this means is taking the opportunity to write things down, whether that be in your journal or in creating a special journal. Typically I have one for work in which I write down scenarios that came up that I didn't have the answer to or I didn't have the response to. And then I write down all the possible responses I can think to with time to think about it, right? In the moment, you don't have time. And that's what the problem is. That's what the challenge is of being clever and witty, is it's really about timeliness. In your journal, you can take all the time you need. Now, the one part of this that's unfortunate is it's a sandbox. You get to play, you get to mess around, you get to come up with all the potential solutions, all the potential responses that you possibly want to. But you don't really know if any of them are going to work. Now, this doesn't discount the exercise. This doesn't cheapen the exercise. It doesn't make it useless. What it does is it prepares your mind and you start thinking about all these different possibilities, and those possibilities can come up in the moment next time. Additionally, what you can do is start asking yourself, and it's going to be a part of the next portion as well, what can make this work? What would work and what can make it work? What do I need to make this work? And this is just playing around with different ideas relative to responses, relative to different decisions, in fact. So as we get into it here, let's dig into the next one. It's be open-minded. So a lot of times people think ideas are bad before they know. They just think an idea is bad. They've never tried it, so they have no idea. So like the first tip and this one, I always kind of think in the world of comedians. They come up with a premise and then they go test it on stage. And so the comedy specials you see on Netflix or hour-long specials, or if you ever go to a comedy club and you see the main stage and it's an hour long and 45-minute sets, that took thousands of repetitions to understand and perfect the jokes that you're hearing. And ultimately, we need to trial these out. We need to trial solutions, but we need to be open-minded about what can work. If you're working in a group or even with your own ideas, you can't be ruthless. You can't be thinking about what doesn't work. Stop thinking about how it won't work and start thinking about what can work and how can I make it work. Or if you're working in a group, relative to ideas, relative to resourcefulness, coming up with solutions to problems that you face or potential decisions that you need to make. What can make this work? Or in ideas that might have some flaws to them, what do I need to make these work? At which point then you can start to evaluate the costs of making them work in whichever kind of resource that is, whether it's time, energy, money, manpower, whatever the factors are that you have. This goes both for your potential responses, right? And really trying to be open-minded to solutions, to ideas, to responses. Don't judge them offhand as dumb. Start thinking about, if you have a dumb idea, what could make it work? And then the only way that you find out is by trying it. That's a simple fact of life, that you got to put things out in the world or try things out before you figure out the truth of them. And then lastly, I would say be curious. In order to be resourceful, you need a lot of resources. And this doesn't need to be in the literal sense. you need to be full, you need to have plenty of idea resources. And the way that you do this is by collecting all sorts of knowledge and collecting all sorts of different experiences. And even as simple as watching sports or listening to somebody who does something, meeting somebody that you don't know what they do and you don't understand the things that they do, and listening to what they do and how those things work. Applying lessons like that in different areas to new problems can often give you pretty innovative solutions. If you think about it, some of our most popular technologies today, or some of the most popular inventions ever, are just the mashup of two different unrelated ideas. Like the smartphone, for example, is the mashup of a telephone and a computer. Additional mashups are seaplanes or stand-up mixers or this Swiss Army knife, the multi-tool pocket knife, right? That's just putting all these different ideas, all these different tools together into one. And thinking or reading through a book, listening to podcasts, hearing different ideas, you could start to think, how can I apply that in my world? How can I apply that in my life? In what problems have I had recently where I could have maybe tried something like that? And this is the never-ending game of mashup, right? And as you play this game, you will become more and more resourceful. It's just preparing for battle. Similarly to slow thinking, right? In all of these cases, it's very similar to martial arts, where you practice forms and you practice the moves, and you usually do it at a much slower pace in a controlled fashion, until in just the right moment, you unleash them at speed. And that's the way that I would think of it. So a subtle thing here, is sliding this in, is being witty and clever is really being resourceful. It's resourceful with your ideas. And so if you could do this, one, generally, people like quick-witted people, so you'd be more likable. But then two, you'll also be more successful. And you'll be more successful in leading teams, because you'll be able to challenge and create these idea gaps and present solutions and be open-minded and drive teams to really come up with some innovative things. Oftentimes, the solutions I come with, I'm not very creative. So the solutions I come up with, people will say, why didn't I think of that? But they're really logical solutions. And they're not innovative. They don't take any massive leaps in creativity or innovation. They just follow a simple chain of logic. Unfortunately, most people won't follow that chain. Create some idea gaps by asking, what can I do and how can I make this work? And run down the chain of logic. You'll come up with some pretty surprising solutions that really aren't that creative. And you'll come up with some ideas and responses to be clever and witty that in the moment will seem pretty magical. But as you think about them, they aren't going to seem that special. The ultimate thing is thinking of a thing in the moment or thinking of a thing in a much shorter time frame. It's basically like, why didn't I think of that? That's the preparation that you're gaining. And you'll be much quicker and much faster and much more resourceful than anyone else. I hope this helps. You can't lose if you don't quit.